I'm Alex with KGI Capital, and we invest in multifamily apartment complexes in the Midwest and the Southeast. But that's not how we started. And so today I'm going to talk about how we got started in real estate investing in general. And specifically, I'm going to talk about our first real estate investment property and how some of those experiences shaped our company today. Rewinding it back, ever since I was a middle schooler, I knew that I wanted to be an investor and a business owner. That was the path I wanted to take in my life, in my professional career. I just loved the idea of passive income and making my money work for me instead of always working for money. I wanted to become wealthy and also to be able to help others with that wealth. So as I went through middle school and high school, I started different little businesses and also invested in the stock market and learned a lot about investing. After graduating high school, I felt that real estate investing was a little bit more within my grasp. So I started to research that. At the time, I had a job where I was doing a lot of driving. So I just listened to hours and hours of Bigger Pockets and learned so much from their podcast about real estate investing. And I don't recommend this, but I would take notes while I drove as well. So I have a whole notebook full of notes that I took, and it is full of different terms that I either wanted to look up later to learn about or different key real estate principles that I wanted to make sure to drill into my brain. Some of it was lost in the messiness of the writing because I was driving. So I don't recommend writing while you drive. While it's not illegal, it's definitely not a good idea. But that's how I got my initial real estate education, and I was making money at my job while I was learning about real estate. Around that time, my partner in business and in life, named Brody, came to me and told me that he wanted to buy a house. And I told him that I don't want to buy a house unless it's an investment. I didn't want to be tied into anything that was going to be very, very expensive. Especially in the San Francisco Bay Area, which is where we are located, housing is really expensive. So we decided that doing a house hack would be the best option forward for us to make it more affordable for ourselves and also to get our foot in the door into real estate investing. So we started looking for properties, and we were working with a really nice agent who was used to working with normal home buyers who are looking just to live in a house and buy for themselves, not for an investment. And so we had to show him our spreadsheet that we used to analyze each of the properties that he brought to us and to see whether or not we wanted to potentially go take a look at it. So it took him a little bit of time to understand what we were trying to do and how it worked. And I think he finally eventually kind of got it. Now, being that our market is really expensive, it took about 6 months to find a property that made sense financially and that would fit our criteria for a house hack. We decided to pull the trigger on it, and it was super scary. I remember we were 20 years old and we were able to buy this property for $497,000. I specifically remember one night where we had already put the EMD down and we were going through the due diligence portion where we were getting the inspections done and stuff like that. And I remember Brody and I were having this moment of doubt, and I think most of it came from just not knowing because we had never done it before. And we even called up our realtor and we were like, hey, we want to back out. We don't want to do this. And he said, it's too late. Basically, he was like, you have to do it. If you back out now, you could get sued and all this stuff. So we were like, okay, I guess we're doing it, which I'm so glad that he told us, no, you have to do it, because it ended up being a great first deal. We bought the property. Just to give you some context, the house was a 3-bed, 2-bath, and then there was an attached granny unit, which was a 300 square foot studio with a separate entrance, and it was also connected to the garage. So we fixed up the 3-bed, 2-bath, and we did all the work ourselves. The house itself, it was a 1980s house. It didn't need a whole lot of work. It just needed paint and clean the carpets and stuff like that. We were in there just like painting the walls. We got all our family involved, our parents and our siblings and everything to come and like help us paint. And it was a good time. We did a lot of work, got it done, and then we started trying to get it rented out. The management side was my responsibility. I used Brandon Turner's book called managing rental properties. And I also use some California legal books by Nolo. I just followed everything that it said in those books, built out processes to be able to market the unit and find tenants. Now, this sounds easy, but because it was all new to me, it took me a while. I think it took about 5 months to actually get it rented. I learned a lot in those 5 months about how to properly market a property, what tenants want, what they're looking for, what they don't want, and the kind of people that are definitely red flags. For example, I didn't realize it for a long time, but in one of the hall closets, there was a dead mouse. And so people would open it and get freaked out, and I didn't even know. And then I finally found it, and I was like, oh, no wonder it's been kind of weirdly smelly. And so people also would smell that and not want to live there. So once we got rid of that, that cleared up that issue. And then there was another where the door to the garage from the main house was still going into the garage, but we were planning on using the garage and the granny unit and combining them together to turn it into a 2-bed, 1-bath unit. So renting the 3-bed, 2-bath, we were telling people there wasn't a garage as part of their unit that they were renting, but they would see the garage and get like really confused because we didn't wall that off yet and we hadn't taken that door out. So that confused people and that turned people away as well. And then sometimes we would have just the weirdest people come to the house to try to rent it. I had another person come look at the property after we'd already fixed it up, and she assured me that we were asking too much rent and that she would help us fix it up and help us with the property if we rented it for like almost $1,000 below market rent. I politely declined, but yeah, that was an interesting one. And then we had another one where there was this guy who came over from the trailer park near where the home was and wanted to rent it, but he was super suspicious of us and of the living situation. He was being super nosy and like looking over fences and trying to see into where we were staying in the granny unit. And then he was upset that our backyard was bigger than the backyard that he would have been renting, and then he accidentally broke the gate. So needless to say, he didn't qualify anyway for the property. Eventually we did find really good tenants and they qualified and they were great. So we finally had somebody in there, and as soon as they were in, they had to leave. They were really good for the few months that they were there, but then the dad ended up actually losing his job and he was really struggling to find another job in his line of work in the area because it was kind of a specialty field. I was able to offer them 2 options. The first was to either break the lease and pay the break lease fee, which was in our rental agreement, or they could wait and continue paying rent until I was able to fill the vacancy. And so they chose the latter option. I was able to find another great family to move in. Things were super stable from then on, and we were able to then fully focus on remodeling the studio and garage into a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom unit. Now the studio was about a little over 300 square feet and the garage was a little under 400 square feet. We were living in the studio while we were remodeling everything. And so it was a total construction site / house. And it took us forever because we did everything ourselves. Now, luckily, Brody has a construction background, and so he was doing a lot of the work and he actually knew what he was doing. We were able to save a ton of money doing it that way, which at the time was really important for us. In total, the whole renovation costed us $20,000. It was really low to take an entire house, move the kitchen, renovate the entire thing, and still come up with only a $20,000 price tag on that. We did good there, and it was definitely challenging because there were 3 of us living in 300 square feet, and sometimes it was a lot less than that because we would have to move all of our stuff and put it into a corner so that we could fix up that portion of the house. Brody was working full-time. He was mainly the one doing all of the physical work of the rehab, and he was doing it after work and on weekends. And so it took a long time, and we lived like that for I think about a year, and we were tired of it by the end. Our strategy going into it did make sense from the standpoint of we were also living there. However, it is nice when you can just do all of the renovation at once what we did is we decided that we were going to live in the granny unit portion, the 300 square feet or so, and then we were renovating the garage first, and then we would move into the garage and then renovate the granny unit. In total, it would end up being a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house. So that's what we did. I designed a floor plan that maximized the space and positioning of the unit, with the consideration that eventually we'd move out of this particular unit and rent it out as well. And then we got to work and we built out the garage, we framed it out, we added the insulation, added the flooring. I learned that I really don't like drywall dust in my house and that it gets everywhere. But the harder part was actually when we moved into the garage portion that was renovated and fixed up the existing granny unit, because that granny unit had our kitchen and our bathroom in it. When we were renovating it, we had to plan around that. We still had to be able to go to the bathroom and shower. One of the things that we did is we actually moved the kitchen from where it was originally to a different spot. And so we didn't have a kitchen for like 4 or 5 months. I was cooking all of our meals out of like a crock pot and a hot plate for that entire time. And I was working full time as well. So all of my meals were quite simple during that time, if you can imagine. And then it came time to renovate the bathroom, and we had to reconfigure how the toilet, shower, and sink were in that room in order to maximize the space. So we didn't have a toilet for like 2 weeks. So we rented a porta potty, but of course it didn't fit through our side gate and in our side yard. So we had it in our driveway. And we literally had to go outside all the way to our front yard into our driveway porta potty to use the restroom. So it was fun times. It definitely makes me laugh, looking back on that. But we were definitely really excited to get a toilet in our house again once we got the renovation done of the bathroom. Another sticking point in that bathroom renovation was also the shower, because we obviously needed a shower. We had to rip out the old shower and put in a new one and tile it and everything. And so it was going to take a little bit of time. We came up with the solution that we would just go to the gym and shower. And so that's what we did for a week or two while we got that all finished out. We just made it happen. Now we have a really nice 2-bedroom, 1-bath house, and our overall property is a duplex. So we were able to build in and force a large amount of appreciation for the property because of all the sweat equity we put into it. Now, while we were doing this, our friends and family kept saying, "Oh, you guys are sacrificing so much in order to set yourselves up financially and all this stuff." But quite honestly, I didn't really feel like we were sacrificing that much. It was what we wanted to do. And yes, I suppose we did sacrifice some comfort because we did get tired of living in our remodel. We did not particularly super enjoy having to go outside to our porta potty to use the restroom. And it was inconvenient to go shower at the gym for a week or two. But was it really that much of a sacrifice? Personally, I didn't see it that way at all. I felt much more like it was an adventure. And even though it was hard, it was what I wanted to be doing. In addition to that, seeing our progress and then seeing the finished results from before to after was so gratifying, and it was a huge transformation. I mean, the granny unit studio, when we moved into it, was gross. There were fleas on that side of the house, super bad. We had to get nematodes, these little like microscopic bugs, to go and eat all the fleas to get rid of the problem. The bathroom had a bunch of mold from the ceiling fan not working. All the appliances were disgusting. It was just dirty and gross. So we really transformed it into something really beautiful. And while I feel lighthearted about all of it now, in the moment, we were doing a lot of growing. We had never done a lot of these things, and we didn't know what we didn't know. We were brand new. There was a lot of uncertainty. For example, when I was trying to get the main house rented out in the beginning, I felt totally stressed about it because our mortgage payment was really, really high, and it was a lot for us. We really needed to get a tenant in there so that we would be able to afford this property and get it to a point where it's an investment and not a liability. And when we were actually looking at buying the property, we had some haters for sure, some people that didn't think we would be able to do it and told us that there was no way that we were going to be able to buy this, which we actually found really comical at the time because we had already done all the work and we were like literally closing on it. And so we knew we were buying the property. But people who are naysayers only tell you that typically because they don't believe they can do it for themselves. So we didn't take it personally or really think too much about it. But I think for some people starting out, if they are scared and it's their first time and they're, already having so much uncertainty about this new venture that they're taking on, it's good to remember that and to keep in mind that a lot of people don't think bigger and they want to just be comfortable. And so when you tell them that you're doing something like this, they think it's weird and they don't understand the why behind it. A lot of times they can just jump right to being critical rather than being curious about it and asking why that would be something we'd even consider doing. Also, there were a lot of construction things we learned along the way too. Sometimes we should have spent just a couple $1,000 more on something that now we wish we kind of had done because it would have just been a little nicer. But luckily for the area that we were in, we actually finished it to a slightly nicer finish than most of the units around our property. It actually costed us the same amount, if not less, but we were able to make it look nicer. That's something that I always like to focus on is how can we make the nicest looking unit with the least amount of money? So like the highest quality for the least amount of cost. We're going to go with what's going to be the best value and what's going to look the best. And when I say we did all the work ourselves, we did have family and friends come and help us, and we are forever grateful for that because that really helped us get our start in real estate investing. Now let me get into the numbers a little bit. So we were able to get into this property for, I believe it was about $18,000, and we bought it for $497,000. And we were able to do that because of a first-time homebuyers loan, which is a great program for first-time homebuyers. Basically, what a first-time homebuyers loan allows you to do is put about 3 to 5% down and get into a property without as much of a down payment. Now, it does make your monthly payment higher, and it does add private mortgage insurance to that monthly payment as well. So you have to take that into consideration when you're looking at a program like this. But it was a great way for us to get into a property with less risk financially and to allow us to actually just be able to get into it because we were 20 years old and that was quite a bit of our savings at the time. Because we did the renovation and forced appreciation of this property, upon sale, we should be looking at over a 1,000% total ROI on this property. So it's a pretty good return. And we're real happy with how this property turned out. Even if you're not in California, there are a lot of states that have a first-time home buyers program. So if you talk to a lender, they can get you plugged in with all that kind of stuff and tell you what kind of options you've got available if you go any conventional routes. But for us, house hacking was a great way to get started, to get our foot in the door, and to lower our own cost of living. Some of the main lessons that we learned were how to effectively manage a property, how to vet your potential tenants really well. We learned a lot about construction and about the process there. We learned how to purchase a property and all the moving parts involved in that process. We learned that we probably won't ever live in our remodel again while we're remodeling it. We have been there, done that. We also got to learn quite a bit about what I was good at and what Brody was good at, which came into play a lot more once we started doing more properties and turning into a full-on business. So overall, it was a great experience, and I'm really glad that we went through with it and that we did it. From there, we ended up buying more investment properties that needed heavy lifts where we could force the appreciation. But we didn't do it in California. We went out of state. And then we got to a point where it made more sense from an economy of scale standpoint to go into bigger properties. And we also had people who were interested in partnering with us at that point as passive investors in our deals. So we just felt it made the most sense to get into larger deals. We have been doing that for a while now, and it's been a really good slow trajectory to where we are now. We didn't go from 0 to 100, we worked our way up. So that gave us the ability to gain experience and knowledge before we started investing other people's money into our projects. We are not afraid to get our hands dirty and to get things done no matter what it takes. And hopefully this inspires some of you to take action on your investing dreams, whether that's doing something like a house hack yourself or investing passively with syndicators like we are now. Now, if you'd like to become more of an expert on passive investing, we have a great newsletter for that. So it's below, check it out. Or if you just want to learn more about what we do and if we could be a good fit, you can schedule a call below as well. See you in the next video.